Hello. Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. Is it as cold here there where you are as it is here in Florida? I think it's like 58 degrees out. And it's been raining all weekend. Uh, but I hope everyone had a great weekend so far, staying warm. I feel like we're getting washed away here. And we're right near the water, so um, happy day to you all. Mid-February, the year's already in full speed. Anyone do anything fun this weekend to share as we kind of get started? I am excited for today's live. If you are new here or you're returning, welcome. She Fires, all about self-defense, armed and unarmed, also focus on situational awareness, personal safety in all forms. And I wanted to bring this discussion to the community for a long time. I'm so excited to welcome this guest. We're going to have a very enlightening conversation. So I hope that you will enjoy it. As folks come in, please do hit the like button. Appreciate it. And I do want to make sure that I welcome anyone who might be new. Please reach out and say, hey, I'm new here. If you are from John's community, his Facebook or his YouTube, please do let us know that as well. Welcome. Always welcome to the Fireside community. Thank you for being here. And I must say hello and thank you if my sponsors are here. Want to make sure that I say thank you to the amazing sponsors that I have. Let me take a hot moment to call them out. First is here is Cross Armory. They are the locally owned. Well, I won't say local. They're in the they're in the United States. But if you watched any of my firearm videos where I have the purple or the rainbow iridescent, red, gold, silver, they do all the parts. They also have optics and a number of parts and accessories for your firearms. They're based out of California, crossarmory.com. If you use them, you will get 10% off by using code SheFires. And I also must not forget to thank the product sponsor, who is D-Lead and D-Wipe Towels. ESCA is the name of the company. And if you go to the range, as you may have noticed, the pink soap is the lead soap that they use to remove the lead. It's a lead decontaminator. So that is a product that I am happy to sponsor or have as a sponsor. And they also have a number of other products. All of those products are on Amazon. I will be dropping a video about that. They have a laundry detergent. Your standard laundry detergent does not remove the lead from your clothing, okay? Fill in the blank, whatever it might be. So their laundry detergent does remove those lead contaminants from your clothing, and they recommend that you not wash your clothing, your standard basic clothing, with any kind of range clothing that you have, just to mitigate contamination. So I will be dropping a video about that later on, so look out for that, but wanted to make sure that I shouted them both out. Very supportive of the channel. But without further ado, let me say hello to some folks popping in. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate everyone. I don't want to spend too much time because I have the guest of the live in the green room. But I appreciate everyone being here. I will pop everyone up. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I hope that you will enjoy this discussion. Please do, if you have any questions for John, and I will introduce him in a hot second. If you have any questions as we kind of get started, I will star them and we'll Where we have time, we'll interject and pop those in and answer your questions. Okay, we'll make sure, because this was an important discussion I wanted to have. As gun owners, we want to reduce or de-escalate heated situations, and it's important for us to kind of walk through and see what tips we can all take away, and also things that might heighten a situation and avoid those types of things. Right? We want to mitigate any issues. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to the community. I appreciate you. It's a little bit different today, so I want to make sure I pop you all up here. I appreciate it. Hello, hello. Okay, so let me please introduce. I'm gonna before I introduce them, I do have a little spiel. I want to make sure that I do state. Have you ever been in a loud confrontation with someone, or if you've ever witnessed a confrontation, how have you handled it? Or if you did get in, if you haven't gotten into a situation like that, do you know, how do you feel about like handling that? Do you feel comfortable that you could adequately de-escalate a situation? If you've been following me for a long time, you know, personal safety and just staying safe is avoiding conflict also. Not just avoiding like danger per se, but avoiding like conflicts that might happen that as you move about in your everyday. And so I thought this would be a really important discussion for us to kind of talk about. So I will welcome this security professional who specializes in de-escalation strategies. It's my hope at the end of this discussion that you're able to take away tips to help you should you ever encounter or be involved in a situation, and something that we've seen in the news, that we often see in the news. So with the live, we're going to share a couple video examples and discuss what's happening in it, what went wrong, what could have been done differently, and would love to make sure that we have your comments and feedback. So I'll be looking at the chat, but anything, the moderators, please, anything that's like starred or something like that, and I'll go back and highlight it. Or if you call me out and say, hey, that's a good question, She Fires, please look at that one, and we'll make sure that we get John to answer it. But before I do that, I'm going to share one of his videos just to give you a nice introduction to what John's company does, and it's called Gentle Response. And I did have this ready. You know how I do, okay? You know how I do, okay? I'm going to try. I had it all ready to go. Give me a hot second. One hot second. Do I have it right there? Okay. I might have to mute this here. Thanks so much for everyone popping in. Appreciate you. Early. Okay. All right, I got it here. Sheesh. You know what? Whenever I go and share my screen, there's always a situation. Okay, just pardon me. Pardon me. Thanks, DJ. I see you dropping John's links there. Appreciate you doing that. Okay, let's take a hot peek at this. Share my screen. Let me know if you cannot hear it, but this will give you a good picture of John, our guest today. Let me know if you can hear it.
What about those guys? Those guys have served for you guys so you can be in this church and practice your religion, freedom of religion here, because of those veterans out there.
Right now, they're right in here. Why can't I see them?
Well, you have to
What
wait
is going on?
You have to
I
wait
want
a
to know
minute.
what's going on. Why do I got to wait?
I got to go talk to the lady in here, and then we'll come back and we'll see.
So is there, can I understand what you want to talk to him about?
I just want to talk to him.
Okay. Anything I can help you with?
I just said I want to talk to him, nobody else.
All right.
Church, let's.
Yeah, well, your policies are to follow the law, and this is a 501c3 corporation, I take it, which means I have every right to be here, go to the bathroom, wash my hands without being
bothered by two
I
goons.
understand, Gene, you have rights. We don't.
I'm not here as a goon. I'm just wanting to talk with you today.
Let's talk about $200. That's all I want to talk about. I need it today.
Well, I don't have $200 for you today.
Okay, but is that the crap that they teach you here? Where's my $200? Oh, Jesus, I'm a leper. Fill out some paperwork. I can fix you.
Oh, sorry about that I wasn't quick enough. So hopefully y'all were able to see that. I'm going to welcome in John. John is a security professional with over 30 years of experience. He's a trainer and author and the founder, owner of Gentle Response, a de-escalation training firm where he and his team consult on dynamic, realistic conflict de-escalation training seminars. So I wish that was kind of local to where he is. I think you're in Michigan. Is that right, John? We'll get to that. John is a U.S. Army Gulf War veteran, former Grand Rapids, Michigan police officer, spent 20 years as a police officer who now consults and travels and works with organizations, nonprofits as well, to offer them de-escalation skills. And so I will be scrolling his information on the bottom. But without further ado, please, and community. Welcome, John.
Hi, hello, good evening, everybody. You know, you had me laughing a while ago when you were talking about how cold it is there in Florida, 50 some degrees. I am here in Michigan. It's about 34 degrees, and I would say it's a little bit chillier here. So this idea of 54 degrees, I'd be in shorts and maybe a long sleeve t-shirt.
No, thank you. No, thank you at all. No, I know. I feel like I'm spoiled with the weather here. I shouldn't be complaining, but you know, I appreciate you being here. We won't talk about that. Please do share with the Fireside. I call them the Fireside community. Everyone who comes in and joins in every week on the lives, we talk about self-defense, personal safety, situational awareness. So wanted to make sure that we had someone who was skilled to share some de-escalation strategies for us responsible gun owners. Please share a little bit.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, I 7 years in the Army as an infantry grunt, went through Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then 20 years as a police officer up here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the second largest city here in Michigan. Retired in 2015. In 2016, I basically had a calling to go and create a training program I started out teaching church staff and volunteers how to more effectively handle situations, because I had observed, and I unfortunately continue to observe, that good people across the board in all sorts of career fields, good people meaning well, but because they don't know what they don't know, end up being the ones that escalate situations. Right. And unfortunately, I see that happen with lawful gun owners, finding themselves in situations that could have been mitigated and avoided, but because they don't know what they don't know, and or they allow themselves to get sucked down a rabbit hole, they end up saying and doing things that escalate a situation, and unfortunately becomes a lethal force encounter, and they're the ones in handcuffs. I got my business name from the Message translation of the Bible in Proverbs 15:1. It says, "A gentle response diffuses anger," and I have seen that happen. There's no guarantee, but I'm telling you that more often than not, folks, based on my experience and my observations, a gentle response to someone who's loud, rude, obnoxious is more likely than not going to effectively de-escalate that situation. But the moment you allow yourself to become frustrated, impatient, or offended, you have increased you've increased it exponentially, that you'll be the one to say or do something that escalates it. And every single one of you can think of a time, maybe earlier today, where you got a little snippy. Why did you get snippy? It was because you were frustrated, impatient, or offended by something that was being done or said. To be fully transparent, apparently I've learned that I have a tendency to get hangry. It's me. If I don't get a Snickers bar or something around lunchtime, okay, maybe some of you can relate to that. Well, It's a thing, and because I'm aware of it, I try to maintain situational awareness. Even my wife knows that, between 11 and 1, make sure I have a Snickers bar or something.
Oh my goodness.
I just start getting snippy,
I will
So
say
I share that to say, look,
yeah.
we're all human. We're all human. And the trick, and unlike what you're going to see on social media and crap out there, there is no such thing as a single word or phrase or action that you can do that will just de-escalate a situation. There are things that you can say or do to mitigate. There are things to begin the de-escalation process. But there is no such thing as a single word or phrase or an action that will just magically de-escalate a situation, unicorns and marshmallows and rainbows. There's no such thing. It takes time for someone to come down from that level of stress and agitation.
So we talked about that a little bit in the back, like the things when you get heated, what to, and maybe we're not the ones being heated, getting excited. It could be someone else. So seeing what other people are doing, their body language, like how we can recognize some of the signs of people getting a little bit testy.
Every situation is different. Every human being is different, but there are some basic standards. There are some basic human body responses to stress when people are getting angry to the point where they might start exhibiting some indication that they're more apt to resort to some type of physical force against you. Well, here's the big thing. If you have enough situational awareness, you should have enough self-discipline to do an about face and walk away. If you sense that this situation is okay, now granted, maybe depending on the situation or the location, you're there. I mean, there's no place for you to go. Well, in that case, you better be thinking things through. And this is why I'm always stressing in my training seminars, slow down, slow down, slow down. Because the moment you start rushing and you stop breathing and getting oxygen in your brain, you're more apt to overreact or potentially underreact, but you might overreact in a situation because you're rushing through it and you're not thinking through the potential consequences of your actions. Slow down and consider, okay, I can't walk away. Is there anything else I can say or do to mitigate the situation? Remember, the other person's already loud, rude, and obnoxious. What can you do or say or not do or say to avoid making the situation worse? Because if you're one of those people who feels like you have to win, have to make your point, have to have the last word, you're going to escalate that situation because you won't know when to shut up. Because there are people who will feel like they have to have the last word, have to win. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sure that you can probably think of a handful of people in your life, in your sphere of influence, someone at work, maybe a family member who just has that character, that personality trait. Good people, but you probably know that under some certain stressful situations, they will have a tendency to keep things going because they have to make sure that people understand that they're correct. And I've seen a lot of situations, unfortunately, with lawful gun owners finding themselves in situations that they coulda, shoulda, woulda just walked away. But they end up getting sucked down this rabbit hole of now arguing, debating, and I need to let you know I'm right and you're stupid. Right. And then it just blows up.
I will say, being here in Florida, we get a lot of folks traveling through, a lot of visitors, a lot of people from other places. They have their way of driving. And, I've tried to slow down. I'm, coming from the north to be a little bit more patient. I know that I've had road rage and lead foot and all of that, trying to let me get around this person. But I've changed my ways because I don't want to get into a car accident. It's a self-awareness type of thing. Is it really, you want to get to your destination, right? You don't even know who that person, where you're trying to challenge them. And I know
as a police officer, I do remember a case where And again, it's normal. We're human. You are going to have aggravations. You are going to get frustrated. The trick is to have the self-discipline, to slow down, take a deep breath, and recognize, okay, I just need to refocus. I need to just disengage, or just realize I don't have to engage with this other individual, this other motorist. A number of years ago, I remember on duty, a buddy of mine got a call, hey, individuals holding a guy at gunpoint, road rage incident. My buddy goes to take that call. I was tied up on something else. Later that afternoon, I met up with him and I said, hey, how did things go? And he goes, yeah, I arrested the guy with the gun. And I'm like, wow, what happened? Well, apparently they were road raging. He was the instigator. And so when the other guy finally got sick and tired of him, you know, blowing his horn and tailgating him and all that, when he finally pulled over, he got out of his truck pulled out a baseball bat. Well, the guy who was the instigator, baseball bat, lethal force, pulled out his gun and held him at gunpoint. Well, dude, you're the one who should have just driven away. When you own a gun, and he was a lawful carrying a gun owner. And that's an example of someone who allowed themselves to lose situation awareness, the self-discipline, and created a situation where he pulled out his gun. He got arrested. He loses his license, and the whole ripple effect of all that. And again, all he had to do, deep breath, don't take it personally. Did that other person wake up that morning and decide, when I see this red truck, I'm going to deliberately pull in front of it or whatever? That person probably had their head up their butt, or probably was distracted, any number of things. But the moment you become so offended by another individual that you feel like you have to let them know what a stupid driver they are, you've started escalating that situation. And now this guy goes to jail for it.
Yes. And I know what you're talking about, that we talked about another scenario with the biker and the knife. And I wanted to share that with the community, and maybe we can talk about that here, and see who was right, who was wrong, who got arrested, who should have been arrested. Let's just take a peek at this.
I was going to say, I think we only have time to run through the video once.
Yes.
But other people, once we get done watching it and I do my commentary, go back and watch it again and look for the things that I saw in it. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Let me make sure I got it right here on the.
A man with a knife confronts a biker on the road. Then the biker pulls out a gun. The guy with the knife ended up in jail. Fox 35's Matt Trezza shows us what happened.
You got a knife, he doesn't have nothing.
Deputies say the victim's wife shot this video of the confrontation between her husband and this man, Rafael Vincent Rivera. The couple says Rivera cut them off and they followed Rivera. When both men eventually stopped, Rivera stepped out of his truck holding a knife.
Get on your bike and go. Get on your bike and go.
As the two continued to argue, you could see Rivera swing his knife at the victim, who then pulls out a gun.
No, babe, I got it on film.
Right now.
Deputies showed up and put the cuffs on both men while they investigated what happened. After talking with witnesses and reviewing the video, they let the victim go and arrested Rivera for aggravated assault. Flagler County deputies say drivers need to cool off.
Our roadways.
I'm going to stop it right there. So you would think, looking at it at first glance, right, that it was the guy with the knife as the bad guy, but really, you know, you tell me, you're the pro from the, well, we've talked about this.
So so actually there's more to that video, and that was edited out for the last few moments just before the knife swing. When they followed him, they say that Rivera got out of the truck and he was brandishing a knife. That's okay. That's great. Why didn't you put it in gear? You're on a motorcycle and leave the area. Instead, you 6-something big. Why didn't you drive away? Right. Okay. So you could have, there was nothing keeping you from staying there. You just saw a potential lethal threat against you. You're with your wife, but instead you could put the kickstand down and decide to confront a man with a knife, because in the back of your head, you know you're bigger and better than him because you have a gun. Now, this is a lawful CCW owner getting caught up in the moment. because all he had to do was put it in gear and drive away.
Right.
Because the guy wasn't going to shoot him. He had a knife. Okay, so that was where that was one possible option to take, but he doesn't. The other video that I watched, which is longer, this woman, if you watch the longer video, she is running at the mouth the entire time, which does not help the stress level of anyone and anyone there. Been there, done that. When you have bystanders running at the mouth, yelling and screaming and egging things on.
That's right.
And that is what she does. She's egging the situation on. What you don't realize is that all that action actually takes place ahead of Rivera's truck. So they got off the bike and walked. It was in front of the truck. They walked him backwards. So the entire time up until he did that knife slash, Rivera is walking back defensively, because what you don't see in that video, he's actually got brass knuckles. The big guy, before he pulled the gun, he has brass knuckles. So he's approaching, and you actually see Rivera point to his brass knuckles and say, "Dude, you got some brass knuckles." And then you hear the wife start yelling and screaming, "Well, you got a knife."
Right.
If you were defensive, if you legitimately were defensive, why have you walked towards a man with a knife? Okay,
Right.
because we've all learned, if you were properly taught in CCW school, firearms instructors should have told you about the 21-foot rule. Why would you close that distance? Should you not be at creating distance, create a reactionary gap, and get away from this potential lethal threat? So we see this individual, and actually, if you watch the video, you actually see him taking baby steps towards Rivera, and Rivera can be heard telling him, "Stop, stop, stop." And then he does that, what I call a defensive slash, because I've seen what happens when a person with a knife wants to attack someone. He does a defensive slash and he steps back.
Right.
Everything he did was defensive. And now this guy, in his mind, oh, lethal force, I have a justification. Now, thank God he did not shoot Mr. Rivera. Now, I made a comment about that on my YouTube page, and I got a lot of hate. And people made comments, well, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. The police arrested Rivera. I know he did. And I also know from experience, I have arrested people, and then upon further investigation have unarrested them and got them out of the car. So I have been trying to find a follow-up to that story to see how it played out. You know, I personally would like to see Rivera released, because I think he was defensive in this entire engagement, beginning with the motorcycle driver who coulda, shoulda, woulda, just, this is a knucklehead with a knife. I am out of here to protect myself and my wife.
That's
and
right.
Instead,
And
he got sucked down this rabbit hole.
I did try finding that, because of course it was in Florida. I could not find, you know, the final outcome, but I saw a couple things in there too. It's like, okay, although it was a woman, it was still 2-on-1, and and she was, you know, being mouthy, agitating her husband. Probably he wanted to be like the big guy, so yeah, I'm gonna, you know, draw. And if the longer video, which I didn't share, I didn't share the full one, but I'll have it attached in the video description. You'll see the guy with the wielding the knife. He was trying to kind of move back, and the biker kept going towards him. So a lot of things that you can kind of see in that. He didn't want to hurt him, but he just wanted him to get away.
Yep. And now, even if he did get out of his truck and brandish the knife,
right?
Okay. Again, the motorcycle guy could have just put it in gear and rode off.
Right.
And as a driver's ed instructor, okay, that takes a conscious decision to drop your kickstand and get off your bike.
Yeah.
And for your wife to pull out the phone and start videotaping, and then to start walking towards a threat. Come on now. We're taught in CCW school that where you get your legal, your gun permit, be defensive, be defensive. I'm sorry. He cannot articulate, other than a man got out of his car holding a knife. Beyond that, you can't articulate the things that you said or did to show that you were being defensive. But Rivera can. I was walking backwards, Your Honor. And then when he kept getting close, I slashed at him to keep him back.
Right.
All he had to do was just slow down and just drive away. As a driver's ed instructor, this is where I was going a couple years ago. This is what we're teaching young kids. You don't have to engage with another human being. If and when you see another human being acting stupid, and here's the other thing about stress inoculation, right? Expect to run into stupid, ignorant people out there, especially over the last 10 years. There are some crazy people out there. And when you see it or encounter one, tell yourself, well, there it is. There's a knucklehead. I'm getting out of here. And so we're telling kids to make a right turn at the next street and just drive around the block, create distance between you and this knucklehead, come back on it's only adding 30 seconds to your ride. Okay, right. So this other person starts to follow you. That's a whole different, okay, now we call 911. And actually, I have a personal story where that's involved. Late one night, a nurse who just got off work called 911, said, I have an individual following me. This nurse was doing everything, that it was a male nurse. I'm doing everything correctly. He was driving in circles around this block, and this other guy kept following him. Me and my partners got in there, and I made the stop on the aggressor, okay? I made contact with him. He also happened to have just got off work at the same hospital, but he didn't know the other guy. Okay. And so I asked him, I said, hey, what are you doing following this other guy? And, you know, big brown eyes. Oh, sir, officer, I just got off work. I'm not doing anything. I'm just tired. Mm-hmm. And I said, you weren't following that other guy? Oh, no, anyway, so we go back and forth. And finally I said, look, pal, and this is where I kind of fudged it a little bit, but I wanted to emphasize to him how bad it could have got. I said, I'll be honest with you. That guy has been on 911 for the last 4 minutes, and he has a gun. And he told dispatch that if you had not stopped what you were doing and we hadn't stopped you, he was going to shoot you. And at that moment, you could see him click, click, click. Oh, okay. People don't think things through. What makes you think that the other driver is not a mass murderer and has nothing left to lose? And he's got a body in the trunk, and you want to walk up on him all badass because you got a gun and all that. What makes you think that other person, what makes you think that other person isn't a better shooter than you and just came from the range and is warmed up and ready to rock?
That's right.
A lot of these CCW people don't slow down and think things through. Trust me. There is probably someone out there who can shoot better than you, outthink you, and outmaneuver you. You are not the baddest person you think you are.
Right. So what would you say, like, and talking about some of the de-escalation, and I know walking away, yes, when there are certain situations and when someone's in your face and you're carrying, right? But there's a confrontation where you're like face to face with someone.
Right.
How do you simmer
that? Here, maintaining a low, calm tone of voice, number one, because the moment you start jacking up your voice, you're actually adding stress and adrenaline run to your own body. Taking these long, slow, deep breaths, which is scientifically proven to help regulate your blood pressure and your heart rate. And also long, slow, deep breaths will get oxygen to your brain under stress. If you can get oxygen to your brain under stress, you're more likely than not be able to think under stress. And if you can think under stress, you're less likely to say or do something that could escalate it. So long, slow, deep breaths while someone gets all loud in your face, because human beings are all about posturing. They're all about getting in your face and looking all bad and so on, trying to intimidate you. Long, slow, deep breath. And this is one thing I teach in all my classes. Bring your hands up. Hey, sir, ma'am, I know you're really upset, but hold on a second. This way you have a gauge on where they are in relationship to you. Your hands don't look offensive, but if you know martial arts, you're in a position to do all sorts of maneuvers. Okay, from here, I carry appendix. From here, I can immediately get into the game if I have to. I don't look like a threat, but I can be if I have to.
Right.
And I'm not talking about throwing hands in someone's face. I'm just bring your hands up, stomach, chest level. Hey, sir, ma'am, I know you're upset, and maintain what I call a reactionary gap. And I'm sure there's people out there watching who have heard that term, but the bottom line is maintain a reactionary gap. If they're inside your space, you may not be able to draw as efficiently and effectively as you normally could. And which is why I also teach, if you have to, push that person away. And this is actually Police 101. They taught us this too. You get in close, do a violent shove, get some distance, and then go for your weapon. Okay, but you've got to create that distance. Someone who walks up on you and gets inside your space, you're working on a deficit already. And so you got to hold your hands up, maintain that low, calm voice. Sir, ma'am, look, I know you're upset. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Just explain it to me. Just explain it to me. But none of this, hey, calm down. Oh,
I know. That's like
telling someone to calm down is not going to work.
The worst phrase, right? No one, even in relationships, no one likes to hear that. Calm down.
No, not at all. No.
So what do you think about?
I am calm.
I know, exactly. Oh, that was startling. You know, when you are in, because, you know, I'm not very tall, right? So when there are situations, it's really, really what you're talking about is so key to make sure that no one is running up onto you quickly. And so having that situational awareness matters, because if they're in my space already, although, you know, we learn things in martial arts that, you know, if they do get close, but you know, maintaining that distance is the most critical part. You don't want to have to get in a situation where you got to push them off of you, or, you know, you're wrestling for your pepper spray or your firearm, right?
Which is why I emphasize part of maintaining a reactionary gap or creating gap is walking away, cross the street, turn around the next corner. Create distance between you and that person. If you allow yourself to get within closing distance with another person, you have escalated that situation potentially, and now added risk to you suffering injury or harm in front of your family and relatives and friends. So if you can sense, okay, there's a road rage idiot driver, and I've experienced it. I'm driving through the parking lot, and there's these knuckleheads that will blast through the parking lot. You know what I'm talking about? They'll blast through the parking lot, cutting through all the parking spaces, right? Well, I saw this guy in a big truck coming out of the corner of my eye. So I slowed down and stopped, and he decided to stop right in front of me. And as if it was my fault, he gives me the bird. I'm just looking at him, shaking my head, going, yep, there's an idiot right there. Little does he know that if I had to take care of business, I would have. But I'm like, you know what? Just go, dude. Just freaking go. And then he goes on his way all high and mighty in his big 4-wheel drive, and I go. But you don't have to engage. A large part of conflict de-escalation is realizing you don't have to engage. There is no law, rule, regulation, or policy that says you shall, you must, you will engage with every knucklehead who looks at you funny, talks at you funny, or gives you the bird.
I know. One of the things I've learned too, and maybe some folks in the chat could relate, but if I see someone being crazy, I want them to be in front of me. So if they're crazy behind me, like driving, I will remove myself out of the way so that they can be in front, so I can watch them and not have them behind me. I feel like that's a situational awareness thing too. Like you want to be the one that's driving and keeping them from passing you. Let them pass you, you know, so that you can watch them do crazy things. And if they do zigzag or something like that, you're not caught in a potential crash because they're driving silly.
That's actually something I do personally, depending on if I sense the guy behind me or girl behind me is being a knucklehead. As they change lanes, I'll hit my brakes and I will come to a stop, or I slow down dramatically, which increases the speed and time that they shoot by me. I'm trying to create distance from you, man, because if it goes sideways, I will be able to sit on the stand and go, Your Honor, I even hit the brake to get them past me.
Right. I
will make sure that I can articulate everything that I did and said to avoid this confrontation. But you know, there was a situation in another situation here in Michigan, just to show how tragic it can be. In September 2013, 2 lawfully carrying CCW carriers here in Michigan, 45 minutes away, got into a road rage incident, carrying their families with them. They pulled over off the road. They come out of their cars shooting at each other like the OK Corral, a big Western gunfight, and killed each other right there in front of their families. And both of them were legally carrying concealed carry permit holders. And all they had to do was drive away.
Yeah. I mean, some things are going to be unavoidable if someone's being crazy like that. And you know, two hot-headed people. I didn't even hear that story, but like the OK Corral, that's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
How do you, if someone is heated and you are trying to be the one to de-escalate and they're not wanting to de-escalate, you know, pulling yourself away, walking away, but you got to keep your eyes on them, right? So you're saying that to walk away, but walk away and, you know, backwards from them. How do you do that? And they're still
Well,
coming towards you.
again, every situation is different. If you are in a car, drive away, go around the block. If they continue to follow them, call 911, let them know what you're doing, where you are. And in fact, ask them, where's the nearest officer deputy coming from? I will drive in that direction towards that officer so they can actually potentially see us coming and maybe see this other driver do whatever. Okay.
Sure.
If you are in a building, you're at Meijer, you're at Walmart. Meijer is a supermarket chain here. Okay, Albertsons or whatever you have down there in Florida. You're at Walmart and so on, and someone starts getting loud and rude. You can, again, perfect. You're walking backwards and maintaining an eye on them, but at some point you are going to have to walk sideways and even turn your back on them. But after you've created some space.
Right.
If they continue to advance on you, well, now they're changing the parameters of this. You can at least articulate that you tried to walk away and back away. Hopefully the store cameras will also show that you tried to maintain your distance, that you tried to de-escalate, and then whatever happens next is going to be on them. But the thing I really want to emphasize for CCW carriers and all that, make sure you slow down, think things through, and make sure you can articulate that you did everything you could to avoid a confrontation. Did you walk away? Use a low, calm tone of voice. Really, just those two things.
What do you think about
or did you? It's what was that?
What do you think about recording, like turning your phone on and?
I'm glad you brought that up. Do not pick up your phone and do this to somebody. Okay, that is one of the most antagonistic, confrontational things you can do in the last 20 years. Okay. And this is what I teach. I mean, think about it. You're talking to someone and they just walk up to you and go, "Oh, what's that, Kelly? Huh?" And they just clearly they want you to say or do something, right? So here's what I teach people in my classes.
Okay.
Turn on the video, hit record, and hold it down by your side. It'll look something like this. You hold it down by your side, and then later when you get on your computer, you can write the image up. But right now, it's recording audio. And even if it only records the side of your leg, it's at least recording the audio. And Your Honor, you can hear me speaking in a low, calm tone of voice, trying to tell Mr. Smith to leave me alone, or trying to tell Mrs. Smith to leave me alone. So you can still record a situation without being antagonistic about it. You don't have to hold your phone up in someone's face. And I tell people that as a police officer, before body cams became a thing, we had videos in our cars. Well, the microphone on my body could send my audio to the car, even though I'm in the basement of a house. Mm-hmm. And so even though the video on my car just showed an empty, dark street, you could hear the audio of everything that was being said in the house, what was being done, tone of voice, and so on. So that's why I tell people, look, you don't have to have your phone up. That is an escalating factor. And so if you have someone doing that to you, if you have someone doing that to you, you can de-escalate the situation by avoiding letting yourself become frustrated, impatient, or offended. Right. The moment you let yourself feel any of those emotions to any degree, offended, impatient, or frustrated, you are going to increase the likelihood that you're going to say or do something that escalates it. Now, I'm not saying to avoid feeling those emotions. Have the self-discipline to recognize, okay, this person is really pushing my buttons. Long, slow, deep breath. Let me see if I can walk away from them. You know, you can always walk around and go to the next cash register. You can always turn around and go around the street, add 30 seconds to your trip, okay? And if you are in a hurry, well, then you should have started your trip earlier anyway, you know.
That's my problem.
There's a lot of things that you can say or do, right?
I'm always in a hurry. It's like I feel like I'm always like rushing, and then I'm like, get out of my way, you know. I think that may just. I hope I'm not alone, chat. just trying to rush it.
No.
Okay, so we talked about some of the de-escalation tips, which are really, really good. And when, just like in the one of the clips that we showed earlier, someone who is venting and they want to be heard, like depending on if you work at a certain place where you're doing customer service, you know, where you're carrying, but you have a job where you interact with folks and they're yelling in your face and they're frustrated. You know, how do you handle those types of situations where you let them vent, you say, okay, I'll let you talk to someone else? Like, how do you handle those types of situations when they just want to be heard?
Exactly that. 9 times out of 10, a person who's loud, rude, obnoxious in a customer service type environment will use fast food, because there's been a dramatic uptick of incidences inside fast foods over the last couple of years, right? Long, slow, deep breath, and you tell yourself, okay, I don't know why cold fries is such a big deal to them, but it is. Okay. Normally it takes a manager or a senior employee 3 seconds to simply say, you know what, I'm sorry, here's another order of fries. In fact, here's your money back. Bam, we're done. But the moment you start getting arguing and all that with this customer who just, okay, maybe they were handling their frustration wrong, but for Christ's sake, they just wanted fries. They just wanted to be heard. 9 times out of 10, someone who's upset and they're venting. I think, unfortunately, people are encouraged and empowered to act the fool because of crap that they see on social media, crap they see in the news and all that. Or their friends are over there recording them so that they can get more TikTok likes and stuff like that. And it's unfortunate. 3 simple things you could keep in mind to effectively de-escalate a situation. Be nice, agree to disagree, walk away. If you hang on to those 3 things, all right, and do your best to try to adhere to them, be nice, agree to disagree, and walk away, a lot of the drama going on around the world right now would disappear. So back to the fast food situation. Someone comes in, they're upset about their order. Okay, give them another order of fries, maybe give them a refund or whatever, or a coupon for free milkshakes for the next week or so. But appease them. People want to feel validated and affirmed. And by smiling, apologizing legitimately in a customer service environment, hey, sir, ma'am, I am really sorry. We messed up your order. Things are kind of hectic back here. Here's another order of fries. You validate and affirm them. You heard them. They feel validated and affirmed because you heard their problem and you came up with a solution to try to help them. They may walk out of there still upset because, again, it takes a process, but at least they're not going to become violent. So many social media, there's so many videos out there. I've got a couple of them on my YouTube channel where we even fast food over stupid stuff. Yeah. Absolutely was avoidable, mostly by employees inadvertently getting bent out of shape. How dare you talk to me that way? You know, you don't respect me. Oh my God. Look, there's an old saying, the customer is always right. That's not necessarily true, but you know what? To get them out of your hair that much quicker, well, I don't have hair, but to get them out of your face that much quicker, give them another order of fries or whatever, give them their money back, cut them loose. The quicker they're out of your face, the quicker you disengage, and the sooner you can begin calming yourself down from that initial adrenaline run from having this confrontational person in your face.
And sometimes I think about that too, John, that sometimes people are acting, you know, really rude or disrespectful or like short. And I just encountered them. So I say to myself, obviously they're having a bad day. Something's going on. I try not to take it personal, and not like, hey, don't be talking to me like that, you know, and match their energy. I try to say, okay, whatever, I'm gonna remove myself because you're obviously you got bigger problems than me. So I'm gonna exit left. And I've done that a lot, and I've had to consciously
that's
say
excellent.
Out loud, but it works.
Yeah, yeah. It worked, but didn't you feel an adrenaline dump for almost 30, 40 minutes later? It doesn't just go away. It takes time for you to come down from that stress level. So imagine if you guys actually went head to head, you're just going to jack things up. And that's exactly my point, you know, and I applaud you for recognizing, okay, I'm out of here. Mic drop, boom, I'm out. And it still takes you 30, 40 minutes to come down from that initial burst of adrenaline.
Yeah. And recognizing that too. What do you think, which made me think just now about the scenario with the Kansas City parade, or with the Houston church shooting specifically? I'm gonna just talk broadly. Being in crowds and something happens, you know, what is your advice for moving about in a crowd? Like, you want to go to a big park, an event, a concert out, you know, as the weather changes, all that jazz, or even in a closed environment.
Right.
What's your advice for being in a big setting like that with a lot of people?
Before you leave the house, prioritize with your family, if you're going to be with family, that you're going to protect them first. So just because something happens half a block or 30, 40 feet away from you, your priority should be your family. Okay. So as long as there's no imminent danger of death or bodily harm to your family, scoot them out of here. Let's get out of here. One of the best things you can be for law enforcement is a good witness. You don't have to be engaged. You don't have to be involved in whatever's going on. It didn't involve you in the first place. Don't inject yourself in it. There's enough drama and chaos going on. My family and I talk with them about this. There's a specific reason why I sit where I do in church and why I sit where I do in movie theaters. So I have my back against the wall, or I'm next to an exit, or I can see, like in the theater, I can see everyone who has to come up, and they actually create their own fatal funnel coming up towards me. But I'm at the top in an elevated position. Go over in your mind, what are the things that you would say or do in case something happened. And it's critical that you war game in your head these things, and it's part of that stress inoculation, so that if it does happen, you have a basic idea of what you're going to say or do. But again, prioritize your family. Something the motorcycle rider in that Florida road rage incident didn't do, because him and his wife both got drawn into it. So I've talked with my wife. I said, if anything ever happens or whatever, there's the exit. Follow me, or I'm pushing you out that door or whatever. So you got to prioritize. Now, I will share with you, I personally don't like going and being around concerts, Super Bowls. I don't like that, because not necessarily because of this, but because of the chaos that drunks can create. I'm just not into that. And so I'm happy to sit at home watching it on my big screen TV, right? With my bathroom around the corner, right? So,
you gotta keep your
but that's
pleasure. Yeah.
But again, I do like the movie experience, the movie theater experience, and so I do talk with my wife where we go when we sit. She's very well aware that when we go into a restaurant and we're with friends, she will try to immediately go and start grabbing chairs, knowing where I prefer to sit, if possible, where I can have a view of the front door and potentially have an idea of where the kitchen is and so on. Just situation awareness. Because sometimes where I'm sitting in the restaurant, it's just a bad location, but at least I can see the front door, and at least I can see where the takeout door is, and maybe where the kitchen is. I just to be aware where things are. You cannot just go and just blindly go into a situation where now something chaotic happens and you inadvertently, meaning well, inadvertently do something that adds chaos and drama to the first responders and all that. Coming into the situation.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about that. I may talk about it more when you're going to outdoor settings or even to restaurants, knowing where the exits are, knowing, you know, the multiple doors or those sliding glass you know, windows where you can go in and out of, knowing that setting, so that if something did happen, you know, immediately, especially if you're with someone, hey, the exit door is right there, or whatever it might be, but kind of scoping it out. Because sometimes, yeah, they place you in the middle of the restaurant, right? Hate that. better than the bathroom.
But
So knowing where to put your back against
yep.
the wall, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Go ahead, please.
Keep in mind, one of the cardinal rules of handgun safety and all that is knowing what's in your backdrop, right? Just know that when you go into a mass crowd, you've basically eliminated a safe backdrop in any direction you point your handgun. And so just keep that in mind, because that is going to affect how you respond, if necessary, to a particular situation. So the moment you find yourself in a crowd of 10,000 people, you tell me which direction you think you're going to be able to safely fire that handgun and not risk collateral damage, because you are screwed. Even if your intentions are good, trust me, in this day and age of litigation, your good intentions do not mean diddly squat when that 6-year-old kid got a fatal head wound because you defended your family against a legitimate threat. You know?
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What you just said reminded me, if you are in a situation where you witness something happening and that person may or may not have like a knife or something like that. Maybe it's a man and a woman and a little scuffle. Like, what is your advice? What's your input on getting involved or not getting involved? Is it life threatening? Is it, is it
my personal rule of thumb? Yeah. My personal rule of thumb is unless there's imminent danger of great bodily harm or death, I will always fall back to that. If there is or is not imminent danger of great bodily harm or death, I am just going to be a good witness. Your Honor, I'm a police officer. I'm a retired police officer, and I observe that man do this and that, or I observe that woman do this and that from 20, 30 feet away. But the moment and that may be all you need to do is be a good witness. But unless you actually see imminent danger, I would caution people to be very, very hesitant about getting involved and injecting yourself into a situation. Right. We had a situation where a domestic argument became violent in our church parking lot a number of years ago. Okay. And our parking lot attendants observed it, and they kind of went into a vapor lock, what I call a vapor lock. They just weren't prepared to see this. Domestic arguments are very raw. It's very primal. It's really bad. And if you never experience it or witness it, and I hope you have not, but if you're not prepared to see it up close, even from 30, 40 feet away, it can be very traumatizing to people to see that amount of violence. And they were able to get on the radio and call one of our pastors, who came out and started yelling and screaming at them. And once the guy realized he had witnesses, because he was laser focused on hurting this woman, once he realized that he had witnesses, he got in his car and drove away. And that's all they needed to do, was be good witnesses. Right. But I tell people, you might save someone's life depending on the situation. Now, does that necessarily mean you pull out a gun? I don't know. But if you pull out a gun, you better doggone well be ready to use it, because there's a case in Texas that I use in some of my training seminars. People driving along the highway, they saw a car veer off the road like it just crashed. And as people ran up, Good Samaritans ran up to assist, they suddenly realized that this big Hispanic male was stabbing the female passenger. One individual pulled out a gun and fired a couple rounds into the ground. It did not stop the deadly assault, and the girl died. And to me, that gun owner, well, assuming he was a legal gun owner, right, is just as responsible for her death, because in that moment he could have stopped a deadly attack. That is a clear case of imminent danger of great bodily harm or death. And instead, he had a gun, but didn't have the mental capacity to actually use it. And I've seen this tendency. You go to the range and all you're doing is shooting paper targets. Yep. Have you ever really thought about using it against another human being, against a child, against a woman, against an elderly person? And this person fired rounds into the ground because he could not take himself to that level that he needed to be. And a woman is dead today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Yes. I don't know. I mean, what do you all say in the chat? Like, would you intervene or would you like not? If you see it's life or death, would you interject? I don't know. It's a like moment it's one of those in the moment types of situations. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and see, this is why I'm always telling people in my training seminar, slow down. I mean, this is something they beat into us once we got out of the police academy and got to the real world. And I saw firsthand the reason why they tell you that. Slow down, take a deep breath. You're actually moving a lot faster than you think you are. Because under stress, you're going to have this time compression. You're going to have auditory exclusion. You're going to have tunnel vision, and you're going to lose fine motor skills. We all know that. We're taught that. But until you experience it, it's just theory. And so I'm telling you, this is why you have to make a conscious effort to slow down, breathe deeply, and be thinking things through. And I remember watching a video. I remember I got into a foot chase. And I remember as I got out of the car and started running, I remember thinking to myself, within seconds, I feel like, oh my God, I feel like my legs are made of lead. I just, oh, Lord Almighty. It just, well, I go back and review my video because I ran to the front of the car.
Right.
Man, I took off like a shot. I was like, damn, John, woo. Because in my mind, in the moment, I felt like I was like this, right? But that adrenaline run. And so I tell you, in the moment, you're going to be moving a lot faster than you think you are. Slow down, slow down, slow down. Think things through. Long, slow, deep breath. Because otherwise, you're apt to say or do something that could actually escalate that situation and then put you in handcuffs, which is what we're talking about, trying to avoid.
Yes. And I know you said a couple of times stress inoculation. What exactly does that mean? And how does that apply to us gun owners?
Okay, stress inoculation is getting to a level of comfort in working in a stressful environment. The human body does not like stress. I don't like stress. I don't like confrontation. None of us do. Your true psychopaths don't care about it. But if you're a normal, rational human being, you don't like stress. You don't like confrontation. But as first responders, you have to be comfortable at being able to operate at a certain level with stress. Bad accident, bad homicide scene, bad domestic, people yelling and screaming. You need to be able to operate rationally, properly in a stressful environment. A couple times since I've retired, I've been at the scene of 2 bad accidents. One was fatal, the other one was not. I remember looking at my Fitbit because at the time that I was in a position where I could get out and help a little bit. I remember feeling about as calm as I am with you right now. But it was later when I looked at my Fitbit, I could see that my blood pressure shot up to about 126, 130. Okay. So that showed me my body is still going to react to stress, but because of my years of experience in dealing with stressful situations, I felt calm. I did what I had to do and turned it over to the first responders as they arrived on scene. It's critical that when you go through training and so on, to give your body a little bit of stress to help inoculate your body so that you can operate through it. I was talking with you behind the scenes earlier, maybe doing some push-ups, jogging in place for 30 seconds, get your heart rate up, fatigue your muscles, and then see how well you shoot. And then practice that way. What's critical though, is to go through training where you are put in simulated situations where you have to think under stress. And for my armed church security, I have a program called decision-making drills where it's designed to put them in situations where they have to make a thought and think things through. Because look, it doesn't matter how well you can shoot out to 100 yards if you can't make a good rational decision under stress and end up doing something that escalates it or puts you in jail. So a lot of these folks, they go to the range and they shoot and they shoot and they shoot and they can pull out a weapon and get a first round lethal hit in under 1.5 seconds. That's outstanding. But can you do that under stress with someone shooting back at you who can outthink and outmaneuver you? Do you know how to use cover and concealment? There's a lot more to getting into a gunfight, which will be over in moments, than what a lot of people seem to think.
Right.
Stress inoculation is critical.
Yeah. Okay. I see a couple questions in the chat, John. If you have a moment, we can take a hot break and
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
we're asking.
yeah.
This one's from TB Cutler. Hello, welcome, new name. Why would you want to know where the kitchen is? The exit the kitchen when the front door is not your best option. What do you say about that? We're talking about finding exits.
That's just, yeah, yeah. I just want to know where the exits are and entrances into that building. Obviously,
Yeah.
at the kitchen, you're going to have an entrance and exit for loading supplies and stuff like that. So I just want to know where all the doors are. Yeah.
Sure. And it's a good practice. I mean, probably in the beginning it feels kind of weird.
Yeah.
But after a while, you get used to that, knowing you just do like the Terminator,
Yes.
scan, like where
Yep.
is everything, and it
Yep.
becomes second nature to you. I think
Yep.
that's a good idea. I didn't even think
And
about
that's
it.
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is good. He's down here saying walking away is good. However, what if they follow you? Thanks, you, baby, for your question. Like, what if you're being confronted?
No, great question. And
Yeah.
yep. Mm-hmm. And I touched upon that earlier. Okay, let's say you're not in a car, you're at Walmart, and someone decides they just have it out for you. Well, here's where you walk in areas where you know you're going to be on the security cameras. You're also asking for Walmart employees, hey, maybe you can get their security guard or their management to come and intercept and intercede for you. You're showing that you're doing everything you can to avoid some type of confrontation. Remember this, the moment you initiate physical contact, though, you've become the aggressor. And it is not going to take much effort from a first-year law student to make you look like the aggressor. Well, Mr. Smith, why didn't you just keep walking away? There was the exit. You could have just kept walking away. It's not going to be good enough for you to say, well, I just had it up to here with him or her yapping at me, and I just decided to turn around and hit him in the face. The moment you initiate some type of act of aggression, you've become the aggressor. And in this day and age where everyone is, ready to call a lawyer and lawyers are happy to sue on behalf of their clients, just be very, very careful. And so, yes, good question. And again, every situation is going to be situational dependent. Where are you when this is actually happening? A parking lot, at Walmart, in a restaurant. I don't know. And that's why it's critical that you war game in your head how you're going to potentially handle a situation if you encounter it. You're going to a high school football game to see your kids play. Right. I don't think it's a big secret. Some of these parents get out of control. Right. And what happens if one of these parents decides to get in your face because your kid just scored a touchdown or whatever? How are you going to handle that? Start wargaming in your head. How are you going to handle that? And here's the other thing I want to caution people. There's no black and white answer. If A happens, it doesn't necessarily mean you do B, because you may have to go to D, E, and F and then circle around to B, depending on the situation. That's the other thing I stress in my training seminars. Be flexible, be flexible, be flexible. Slow down, think things through, and be flexible. Because what might work for one person in a Walmart may not necessarily work for another person in a restaurant environment. You see what I'm saying? There are some basics, walk away, low calm tone of voice, things like that. But right. the actual specific things that you say or do are going to be situational dependent.
I appreciate that. Good points. I know we kind of talked about some of these things too, so I'm glad that we're reminding. And it might be a lot of things that you all know, but sometimes it's good to kind of talk it out. And maybe there's something that, like John shared, that's like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. Maybe I can incorporate that into what I already know. I think my community here, the fireside community, very responsible. But just like picking up certain things that would be helpful, or to share it with someone else, just as a reminder as you're moving about. You might know someone who's hot-headed, and they could also be a gun owner. But even if they're just a regular hothead, you don't want them to be the fall victim to someone else who might be, wanting to take it to a whole nother level, and learning how to soften and simmer. I don't want to say calm down. I won't say that now.
Right.
Relax. Not relax is bad too. John.
No, well, depending on where it comes in, but I wanted to touch upon a comment. One of your guests made a comment about, what if they're on drugs or whatever. There will be times when just about nothing you say or do is going to work, or it will just be challenging. 4 things. Number 1, the level of anger or stress or agitation that person is experiencing at that moment. Number 2, intoxication, drugs or alcohol. Okay, or a combination of both. Number 3, mental cognitive challenges, autism, schizophrenia, stuff like that, or if they have an agenda. Okay, if they have an agenda to create some type of confrontation, and that's why they're holding their phone up in your face, that's because they're trying to get a reaction out of you. But I'm telling you from experience, folks, and I've de-escalated a lot of situations with people trying to hurt me. It can be done. Whether they were highly agitated because of drugs and alcohol, it can be done. It was an added challenge, but it can be done. And it requires me to maintain that self-discipline, to just stay calm and just understand that it's going to take you repeating certain commands or comments over and over again before their brain starts to process it. But the moment you become impatient or frustrated or offended, you've increased the likelihood that you're going to end up saying or doing something that escalates it, especially if you already know that the person you're dealing with is intoxicated by drugs or alcohol. Whatever you can do to avoid it getting to that point of confrontation in the first place, you should have been thinking ahead. That's, again, situational awareness. Situational awareness is not just what's going on now. It's being able to war game in your head, situational awareness, 4 or 5 steps ahead. I'm going to walk through this dark parking lot to my car. I can see that there's a lighted pole right here, and you're wargaming in your head how you're going to approach your car. Situational awareness. If the person comes from the left, this is what I'll do. If the person comes from the right, this is what I'm going to do, and so on and so forth. Situational awareness is not just what's immediately happening to you. It's being able to foresee or be able to have a good idea of how you're going to react and respond 4 steps ahead.
Thank you for that. I do now see that comment, especially people who might have like a mental issue situation, and there's no calming them down. There's no like wanting to help de-escalate because they're already on edge, whatever the case may be, drugs and alcohol. And just being situationally aware. I think everything is rooted from being situationally aware and seeing people's body language. We may not know that person, but we know certain movements. We know what they're carrying, how they're wearing their clothing. It's hot outside, but they got a big coat on. Like all those things contribute to us maintaining safety as best as we can, right? As best as we can. Okay,
and the person that you see exhibiting one more, this is where situation awareness comes in. It may not be this person looking at you with a stink eye or responding to you. You could key in on their body language towards another human. And this is what I'm saying. Okay, it looks like something's about to go down. I'm just going to remove myself. Now, come on, honey, grab the kids and just removing. I don't know what's going on here, but I don't want to be here to find out. I don't want to get sucked into it. Situational awareness and self-discipline to recognize you don't have to engage.
Right. Good. I was looking through my little cheat sheet to see if we had covered everything. We talked about de-escalation tips. We talked about what not to say, signs to reduce maintaining a distance and having a certain stance. Even in, martial arts, we learned that too, like having a certain distance and keeping your hands down where it's not aggressive, but also, respect my space, and being able to get away quickly or defend yourself. You always want to maintain. No one should be coming, no one should be coming into your space. I feel weird when I'm getting too close to someone in the checkout line, like, oh, sorry. Those types of things.
Yeah. And I tell people, you don't like people getting in your space, so why would you do that to someone else? It's very antagonistic. It's confrontational. It can be considered a threat to that person. And so if they lash out in anger, well, you kind of escalated it by getting inside their space. And I also tell people, you maintain that reactionary gap. It keeps you out of range of their fists.
That too. Even more
No?
so.
Well, there you go.
Well, John, I don't know if we've shared all the things that you wanted to touch on. Was there anything that we didn't discuss that would be helpful to the community? Many of them gun owners. I'll make no assumptions, but many of them being responsible owners.
I want to share one more story that highlights the need for responsible gun owners to keep it together. April 2022 in Florida, DeLand, Florida, a pregnant female was observed to try to hit some motorcycle riders. Well, it turned out that and again, it's a road rage incident, because this is where we see the most examples of lawfully gun-carrying people make bad mistakes.
Right.
Apparently, she inadvertently changed lanes and almost hit the motorcycle driver, who ends up being a lawfully carrying concealed weapons carrier in the state of Florida. He gets offended. So he rides beside her for a little way. And this is what witnesses are saying. He rides beside her, yelling, screaming, and kicks her car. In response, she nudges over as if trying to hit him. She drives home. Him and his buddies on their motorcycles follow her. She runs inside the house. They stay outside in her driveway. They're calling 911, okay? They feel they're in the right. They're calling 911. Well, she grabbed her fiance or boyfriend's gun and comes running out, waving it at them. Our lawful carrying owner pulls out a gun and guns her down, killing her and the baby. Very, very messy situation. Very messy situation. How could this situation have been mitigated? Again, motorcycle driver, and I used to ride a motorcycle. I know people can't see motorcycles. Don't take it personally. And if you are offended or whatever by another knucklehead driver, create distance. But you riding up alongside of them and kicking their car, again, what makes you think that person isn't a killer? Right. What makes you think that person has nothing to lose? What makes you think that person isn't more badass than you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
so now we start this situation rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say even more so that how did they find out where she lived? You know, that situation awareness. Like, I just got into an altercation with someone. I'm gonna go directly to my house. You know, you should.
And that's what. Yeah. She drives home. Now, both of them are on 911 at the same time. She drives home and she ran into the house. You should have stayed there. Florida has a stand your ground law. If you stay in your house, the moment you exit your building, you now can be painted as the aggressor, as what happened here, because now she goes down towards them waving a gun. As a lawful gun owner, what would you do? Well, this is a lethal threat coming at me. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but okay, here he is.
Right.
He pulls his weapon and kills her. No charges are filed, but the whole situation absolutely was avoidable. If they wanted to call 911 and report her to the police, we see her address, drive down the block. Okay, dispatch, I'm a block away. Now we're reducing, completely avoiding and mitigating this type of possibility and confrontation. But what happens is we get caught up into the moment. We're going to sit right here, damn it, and we're going to wait till the police get here.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly the best thing to do in that moment, and unfortunately it ended up tragic. And now here's the thing, even though no charges are filed, he gets to live with the knowledge that he caught and killed a woman and her pregnant baby.
Yeah.
The family, friends, and his name is forever on the internet as someone who gunned this down. And there will be other people like me who will look at this story and go, well, dude, why didn't you just drive down the block and wait for the cops? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot. And here's the thing. A lot of people, I take these stories and I talk about what coulda, shoulda, woulda, not because I'm necessarily trying to criticize that moment, but I'm trying to pull out some teaching moments so that all of us can learn from it. Okay, if I'm ever in a road rage incident, keep driving, call 911, drive around the block. Bam, there's a lesson point right there. Number two, don't follow someone to their house, because this creates a potential situation. Number three, if I'm inside my house, stay there. The moment you exit that house, even though, okay, castle doctrine and stand your ground, boy, I tell you what, the reality is there's always that question: can you articulate imminent danger of great bodily harm or death? Because it will always go back to that. And so once she was in the house, she should have stayed there and stayed on the phone. But for some reason, she felt the need to grab a gun and go rushing out there, and ended up getting herself and her baby killed. So I just wanted to share that story. Yeah, I believe it was her boyfriend. If this happened in Orange City, DeLand, Florida, April 2022. If you guys Google it, pregnant teacher killed in road rage, I think it'll pop up.
Yeah.
And again, and those are just a few that stick out in my mind that I mentioned on my own YouTube channel. But you know, I'm constantly finding these situations, not just because weapons were used, but just examples of how conflict de-escalation knowledge and skills would have absolutely altered the way a situation played out.
So this is a nice transition, because I know in your everyday, I know with the consulting that you do, you mostly work with churches. Is that the case? You work with businesses?
No, yeah, businesses, corporations. As a matter of fact, we're going to be in DeLand, Orlando. Winter Garden. We're going to be in Winter Garden coming up here in a couple of weeks, working with community health centers in Florida. And then we're driving down to Miami the first weekend in March, working with the church there. And then mid-March, we're going to be in Pennsylvania working with school staff. So, you know, it started out working with churches, and then they would go home and go back to their place of business, and really through word of mouth. And here I am talking to you. I think you found me on LinkedIn or something, and took a look at some of my videos, and it just took off. So my team and I travel the country, working with anybody and everybody. I've written 2 books, one geared towards law enforcement, and I teach classes for police officers every June in Sandusky, Ohio. Just trying to pass on some things I've learned to the younger generation of officers. And another book is geared more towards church staff and volunteers. You can find them all on Amazon.
Let me share that.
Yeah, excited about it. Oh yeah, thank you. Oh, you know what? Here, if there's someone take a screenshot of that real quick. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you could. A gentle response and practical de-escalation for patrol. The basics are the same, but they're written in a way to make it relatable to the audience. Just like tonight, I've really tried to emphasize some of these incidences that involve lawful gun owners, to make it relatable to you, because it's not going to click in your heads if I sit here and just talk about things that happened, I don't know, in a Walmart parking lot, or someone who's an illegal gun owner. You can't relate to that. The guy or girl was wrong in the first place. But if I talk about the decisions and lessons pulled out of situations involving lawful gun owners who just got sucked up into the situation, then it makes my teaching points that much more relatable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know that. Let me see if I can share. Probably have to take us both off the screen, but I do have links to all your socials. I do have links to your Amazon books. I may actually add them to my Amazon store. I will do that. Please.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. If you all have not had a chance, I meant to mention this earlier, please do hit the like button. Show your support by, visiting John's website and connect with him socially. I would greatly appreciate it. I reached out to him blindly. I said, I need you to come and talk with us on the channel. And so I'm grateful for your time, making time with us, and sharing all these tips and suggestions with us.
I appreciate the opportunity, and folks, good luck. God bless. Be safe. Take a deep breath and slow down.
As simple as that. Anything else that you want to share with us? I know we've got the 2 books. Any future sites on another book on the horizon? Not yet.
No, I'm not, and I don't see myself trying to be a book author. I just felt strongly about these 2 particular, audiences and so on. So I put those together. They're a quick read. They're about 100 pages a piece.
Thanks, okay.
Hey, folks, if you do read it, please leave a review on Amazon. It helps with the algorithm, right? Everything is so social media driven and algorithm driven. And
Yes.
so if you do read them and all that, and you like them, please leave a comment and all that.
Leave a review if you like it. If you don't like it, I don't leave a review.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you know what? Here's the other thing. You know what? For my New Year's resolution this year, on my social media, I get some really crazy comments from people who I can tell by the comments that they're making and the way they're attacking me. They know nothing about what they're talking about, no training, no life experience, but they these keyboard warriors and all that.
Sure.
And I've got to the point where I'm just going to delete. I don't need the social media interaction that bad. My business is going good. I travel all over. I'm just trying to put out some good information. Now, here's the thing. If any of you disagree with me and you have a valid point that you want to make, I am all ears. Let's talk about it. I'm going based on my own training and experience and observations. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the end all be all. I know that. I'm admitting it. I would love to hear your take on it. If there's something that you disagree with me, be nice, agree to disagree, and walk away. If there's something that I said tonight that you don't like, okay. It's just at the end of tonight, you shut off your computer and we go to bed and we move on with our lives. You can just notch it as, hey, that's just another bald-headed knucklehead that I don't agree with. Okay. Okay.
No.
But if people could just simply just be nice, agree to disagree, and walk away, right? But otherwise, I am all open for discussion and comments. Yes. And, like I said, if you actually have experience and training and observations of a situation or something that you've experienced that went differently or whatever, I would love to debrief it and talk about it. May even talk about it on my own YouTube channel. The more people who learn and pick up on the basics, the higher the percentage of people who effectively and successfully de-escalate situations or avoid getting into bad situations where they're the ones who ends up in handcuffs.
Right. All we're doing is sharing information, do with it as you wish.
That's it. Yep.
Kind of make the world a better place. Yep. But I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much for sharing all your insight, all the experience that you have. I will definitely stay in touch with you. If you all have any questions or comments later that you want to pass through me, please do that. I will be happy to do that. And I think that is it. Don't leave, John. Okay, I'm going to send you back to the green room.
I will.
Have some imaginary muffins, and I'll be back to you. I just want to say thank you to the chat before we part ways for the night. So I'll send you the back. Thank you again for talking to the community. Yes, thank you so much.
Good night.
Okay, we are at the end. I appreciate it. I'm trying to bring different things to the channel. And so I appreciate everyone coming along and participating in these lives and trying to see what fits and what works. And I do want to bring in more guests. I'm a little rusty, but I'm gonna get there. You start a day, it's one day, and you just improve over time. So you're just seeing my evolution. I'll be a pro before you know it. But thank you. I hope that this was helpful. If you picked up one tip, please do let me know. I want to hear from you. And I do want to share. I'll do probably a community post sharing all of John's information. If you want to connect, please hit the like button. If you want to show support to him and what he's doing and just helping our greater community handle situations better, he's on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Sorry, John. I'm going to get it all out there. You can find his website, gentle-response.com, for all of his information. Okay. I appreciate it. Let me just see if anyone had any other lingering questions that I did not get to. Email me, or I will try to scan here really quickly. I have bad eyes. Yes. I don't see anything glaring, but reach out to me. through email, or I'll do a community post just thanking John for his time. Anything that we didn't touch on, I tried to make sure that we covered everything as best as we could, just to make us better, responsible gun owners. Really quickly, I got to do my closeout, right? So I want to thank everyone for being a Patreon. Thank you for the moderators. Appreciate everyone in the chat for hanging out with me tonight. Next week will be a regular live, topic to be determined. And then I will be traveling to Dallas for International Women's Week, or for a couple of days. I'll be there for a couple of days. So I might go live from there. We'll see what happens. As you know, I'm part of Gun Owners of America Empowered 2A team. And so we're doing a women's range day there, and it's over like several days. So I'll be sharing there. If you're in the Dallas area and a woman, please reach out if you're interested in attending. If you are a Gun Owners of America member, you will attend for free. Otherwise, it's a really nominal fee of $20 to hang out with a bunch of us. So hope you can make it if you're in the area and all things apply. Otherwise, I am coming back. I'll be back actually before my Sunday live. So I'll be hanging out, but you'll see some videos and posts. So please engage with me and just engage with me. Is some cool place to eat in Dallas? Let me know that too. And I think that's it. You know, I got to do my little obligatory. It's that simple. Side note, did I mention last time that I wore my It's That Simple shirt at SHOT Show, and on the back it's huge fire emoji, and someone found me or saw me through the crowd, and beelined it to me. So I'll be getting more of those shirts. And I think that's it. If you have anything for me, please do reach out. I apologize. I have John waiting in the green room, so I want to be respectful of his time, but I appreciate everyone, and I will definitely see you next week. And I will see you in the comments. I've got some videos dropping here soon, and I picked up a little small thing recently. Pew, pew. So look out for that. And I appreciate you all. You all have a great evening and have a great week ahead. Stay safe.
Is that it?
Yep, that's
Oh,
it.
it's that simple?
Yep. It's that simple.